The snow fell on East L.A. like a bad omen, like God himself was trying to tell us something we were too stupid to hear. Nobody in this neighborhood had seen real snow in 15 years. The old heads talked about it like folklore, like ghost stories you tell to scare the young ones straight. But here it was, white powder covering the basketball courts, the chain-link fences, the blood-stained concrete where Danny Reyes caught 2 to the chest last spring. Nature's way of covering up our sins, temporary, just like everything else in this life. I'm telling you this story because somebody needs to know what really went down that night at Roosevelt Middle School. The newspapers, they got it all wrong. The police reports, sanitized, redacted, protected. But I was there. I saw everything. And some images burn into your brain like a brand, you know? They don't fade. They don't soften with time. They just sit there, waiting for you in the dark. This is the story of 2 brothers, Los and Jay Martinez, and the 24 hours that should have killed them both. Los Martinez ran Roosevelt Middle School like a Fortune 500 company. No emotion, no hesitation. Just cold, calculated moves that kept the money flowing and the bodies from piling up too high. At 13 years old, that kid understood power better than most adults ever would. He controlled the scrubs, the 8th grade council that moved everything from stolen test answers to prescription pills through Roosevelt's hallways. 7 kids deep, all loyal, all efficient. Los didn't rule through fear like the others before him. He ruled through respect, through results. You did your job, you got paid. You stepped out of line. Well, that's what Jay was for. Jay Martinez was 11 going on life sentence. That's the only way to describe him. Short fuse, quick hands, and absolutely zero fear of consequences. Where Los was ice, Jay was fire. Where Los calculated, Jay demolished. The perfect weapon, the perfect little brother. Los kept that yellow camo hoodie clean. Jay's orange jacket, that thing had seen things. Blood, tears, the desperate attempts of kids who thought they could challenge the Martinez operation. Jay wore that jacket like armor, like a warning label. And those gold earrings? He'd taken those off Victor Salazar after beating him unconscious behind the gymnasium. Wore them like trophies. Together, they were untouchable, until they weren't. The Escobar family controlled the real product in East L.A. Not middle school bullshit, real weight, real consequences. And they used kids like Los as distribution nodes, knowing damn well the cops looked the other way when it came to school stuff. Plausible deniability. Los moved their product through Roosevelt's network, took his cut, and everybody stayed in their lane. It was a beautiful system. Profitable. Clean. Then it all went to hell on a Tuesday morning when Los opened the drop behind the dumpsters and came up light. 3 grams missing. 3 grams doesn't sound like much until you understand the Escobar family doesn't care about the quantity. They care about the principle. You skim 3 grams today, you skim an ounce tomorrow. You're running your own operation next week. They've killed people over less, much less. Los counted again, then again. His hands never shook, they never did. But his mind was already running through scenarios, calculating probabilities, identifying weak points in his operation. Someone was stealing from him, which meant someone was dying. He had 48 hours to make it right, before the Escobars sent word up the chain. Los made it happen in 47. He moved through his scrubs like a surgeon, checking inventory, cross-referencing drops, analyzing patterns. It took him 6 hours to narrow it down, another 2 to confirm. By lunch period the next day, Los knew exactly who was bleeding his operation dry. His little brother. Los found Jay in the basketball courts, dunking on 6th graders, laughing that wild laugh that usually made Los smile. Usually. Today that laugh sounded different. Hollow. Fake. Or maybe Los was just hearing it differently now. "Walk with me," Los said. not a request. Jay's smile disappeared. He knew that tone. That tone meant business. That tone meant someone was about to have a very bad day. He just didn't know it was going to be him. They walked to the far corner of the school where the fence met the maintenance building. Private. Quiet. The kind of place where conversations ended with blood or broken bones. "You've been hitting the Escobar drops," Loss said. Not a question, a statement. Cold, final. Jay's face did something complicated. Surprise, then guilt, then defiance, then fear, all in about 2 seconds. He opened his mouth to lie, but Loss raised one finger. That's all it took, one finger. Jay's mouth snapped shut. "Don't," Loss said. "Don't insult me with lies. I know exactly how much you took. 3 grams from 4 separate drops over 2 weeks. I know when. I know how. The only thing I don't know is why." The snow started falling then. First time either of them had seen real snow. Any other day they might have stopped to appreciate it. Might have laughed, made jokes, thrown snowballs like regular kids. But they weren't regular kids. They'd never been regular kids. "Mom's sick," Jay said finally. His voice sounded small, younger than 11. "Really sick, not like before. The clinic won't see her without insurance. The medication, it costs $200, Loss. $200 for 30 pills. Without it, he didn't finish. Didn't need to." Loss felt something crack inside his chest, something he'd spent years building walls around. But his face stayed stone. His voice stayed level. "So you stole from the Escobars. I was gonna pay it back. I swear, Loss, I was gonna—" "With what?" Loss cut him off. "With what money, Jay? You gonna rob a bank? You gonna win the lottery? There is no paying it back. There's only consequences now." Jay's hands balled into fists. "Then I'll take them. Whatever they do to me, I'll take it. Mom needed help. What was I supposed to do? Let her die?" "You were supposed to come to me!" Loss's voice didn't rise. It never rose, but the intensity hit like a slap. "You were supposed to trust me, not steal from the people who would kill us both over 3 grams of product." "Would you have helped?" Jay asked. "Would you really have helped, Loss? Or would you have said the business comes first? That we can't show weakness? That she's my mother too?" Loss's words fell like hammers, each one precise, each one devastating. "You think I don't know she's sick? You think I don't hear her coughing through the walls every night? You think this shit is easy for me?" They stared at each other. 2 brothers. 2 soldiers in a war they didn't start but couldn't escape. The snow kept falling. Loss got the call at 7 p.m. Pablo Escobar, the nephew who ran enforcement for the family. Not someone you wanted calling your phone. Not ever. "We're light," Pablo said. "No greeting. No pleasantries. Just business. Your drop came up short. 3 grams. You know what that means." "I know what it means," Loss said. "I'm handling it. You got 24 hours to bring us our money or bring us the thief. After that, we start collecting from everybody in your operation. Your scrubs, your runners, your family, everybody. You understand what I'm telling you, little man?" Loss understood perfectly. The Escobars didn't make empty threats. 2 years ago, they'd disappeared an entire family because the father skimmed product. Mom, Dad, 2 kids. Gone. Nobody ever found the bodies. "I understand," Loss said. "You'll get what you're owed." 24 hours, Pablo said. "Clock's ticking." The line went dead. Loss sat in the empty classroom, phone in his hand, mind racing through scenarios. 3 grams, street value, markup. He needed $800 in 24 hours on a middle schooler's resources. Impossible. Or he could give them Jay. Let his little brother face Escobar justice. Take the beating, maybe worse. Save the operation. Save his own reputation. Show the scrubs that Los Martinez didn't go soft for anyone. Not even blood. It was the smart play, the cold play, the ghost move. Loss stared at his phone for a long time. Then he started making calls. By 9 p.m., Los had assembled his entire council in the school library. 7 kids, all 8th graders, all dangerous in their own ways. Marcus "Money" Williams handled the books. Sophia Ruiz ran the girls' network. Tommy Chang moved product through the Asian kids. David "Davy" Morales was muscle, pure and simple. Los laid it out clean. No sugarcoating. We're $800 short on the Escobar payment. We got 24 hours to come up with it or they start taking pieces. Who skimmed? Sophia asked. Her eyes were hard. She'd killed a girl once. Stabbed her in the bathroom over disrespect. Never got caught. Never even got questioned. Los could have lied. Could have blamed it on a random runner, some expendable kid they could sacrifice. But these were his people, his crew. They deserved the truth. My brother, he said. The room went silent. You could hear the snow hitting the windows. Jay? Money couldn't hide his shock. Jay skimmed from an Escobar drop? Why the hell would... Doesn't matter why, Los cut him off. What matters is fixing it. I got a plan, but it's high risk, real high risk. Any of you want out, walk now. No judgment, no consequences. Nobody moved. What's the play? Davy asked. Los pulled out a floor plan of the school. He'd been working on it for months, mapping every corridor, every locked door, every security camera. Just in case, always prepared. The Mangananso family runs product through the nurse's office, he said. Old Nurse Patterson, she's on their payroll. They use the locked supply cabinet as a stash house. Oxy, Vicodin, some harder stuff. Street value, maybe $10,000. Tommy let out a low whistle. You want to rob the Mangananso stash? Los, man, that's suicide. They'll kill us. They'll kill our families. They'll never know it was us, Los said. Storm's getting worse. They just announced on the news. School's snowed in. Nobody's leaving tonight. All the teachers, all the staff, all the kids who stayed for after-school programs. We're trapped here until the plows come through. Maybe 24 hours, maybe longer. You want to hit them during a lockdown? Sophia's eyes widened. That's smart, Los finished. It's smart. Limited variables, controlled environment. We take what we need to pay the Escobars, leave the rest. Make it look like Patterson got sloppy with her inventory. By the time anyone figures out what really happened, we're clean. Money shook his head. The scrubs start questioning if you're going soft, Los. Taking this kind of risk for Jay, for family, it makes you look weak. Los's eyes went cold. That dead, empty cold that made people remember why they feared him in the first place. Let me worry about how I look, he said softly. You just worry about your part of the job. We clear? Money nodded quickly. Good, Los said. Here's how we're going to do this. Jay didn't know about any of it. Los kept him in the dark, kept him away from the scrubs, kept him safe in the gymnasium with the other 6th graders. The school had set up temporary shelter areas for the lockdown. Sleeping bags, snacks, movies playing on projectors. Admin was trying to make it fun like a big sleepover. Kids were actually enjoying it. Jay wasn't enjoying anything. He sat in the corner, orange jacket pulled tight, guilt eating him alive. He'd destroyed everything, broken the one rule that mattered, stolen from the family, put Los in an impossible position. He kept thinking about their mother, about the medication she needed, about the coughing that got worse every day, about the way she tried to hide how bad it was, tried to stay strong for them. Some choices aren't really choices at all. They're just different types of hell, and you pick the one you can live with. Jay had made his choice. Now he'd face the consequences. He just didn't know Los was facing them for him. Midnight. The school was quiet. Most kids were asleep. The teachers were camped out in the cafeteria, drinking coffee and complaining about their union contracts. Security was 2 rent-a-cops who spent more time on their phones than actually patrolling. Perfect conditions. Loss moved through the dark hallways like smoke, silent, invisible. Behind him, his scrubs spread out to their assigned positions. Money was on camera duty, looping the feed so nobody would see what was about to happen. Sophia and her girls were running distraction, fake emergency in the West Wing bathrooms to pull the security guards away. Tommy and Davy were muscle, ready to handle any unexpected problems. Loss reached the nurse's office at 12:15. The door was locked, but he'd expected that. He pulled out the lockpick set he'd bought off a high school kid for $50, taught himself how to use it from YouTube videos. Took him maybe 40 seconds to pop the lock. Inside, the office was dark, empty. The supply cabinet stood against the far wall, secured with a heavy padlock. The Mangananso family didn't mess around with their product security. Loss pulled out the bolt cutters, wrapped them in a towel to muffle the sound, positioned them around the padlock shackle, applied pressure slowly, carefully, quietly. Snap. The sound was louder than he'd expected. He froze, listening for footsteps, voices, any sign he'd been made. Nothing. He opened the cabinet. Inside was exactly what he'd hoped for. Bottles and bottles of pills. Oxy, Vicodin, Percocet, Adderall, Xanax. A pharmacy's worth of product, organized by type, dated, inventoried. Professional operation. Loss started counting. He needed $800 in street value. That meant maybe 60 pills. Oxy went for 20 a pop on the street. He could take 30, sell them to his contacts, have the money by morning. His hand hovered over the bottles. Then he saw something else. In the back of the cabinet, behind the illegal stuff. Legal medication. Prescription bottles with actual patient names. Old pills that patients never picked up. The nurse was probably supposed to dispose of them, but she'd kept them instead. One bottle caught Loss's eye. Lisinopril, blood pressure medication. The same kind his mother needed. Loss stood there in the dark, bolt cutters in one hand, his mother's medication in the other, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. He could take this. Get the pills she needed. Maybe enough for 6 months. Maybe longer. Save her life without paying the clinic's extortion prices. Fix the problem that started all of this. But that wasn't the mission. The mission was getting $800 for the Escobars. Anything else was a distraction. Anything else was weakness. Loss heard his brother's voice in his head. Mom's sick, Loss. Really sick. He heard Pablo Escobar's voice. 24 hours or we start collecting from everybody. He heard his own voice, the one he used when he had to make the hard calls. The business comes first. Loss made his choice. He took the Oxy. 60 pills, carefully counted, carefully bagged. $800 in street value, maybe more if he negotiated right. Enough to pay the debt. Enough to save Jay's life. Then he took the lisinopril, too. Every bottle. 6 months' worth at least. Let the Mangananso family think Nurse Patterson got sloppy. Let them think she got high on her own supply and lost track of inventory. Loss didn't care what they thought. He'd gotten what he came for. He locked the cabinet with a new padlock, pocketed the Oxy, stuffed the lisinopril bottles inside his yellow hoodie, and disappeared back into the dark hallways. The whole operation took 8 minutes. Los Martinez was 13 years old, and he'd just pulled off a heist that grown men wouldn't attempt. By 3 a.m., Los had sold the Oxy to 3 different buyers, high school kids who had cash and didn't ask questions. He got $900, more than enough. By 4 a.m., he'd hidden his mother's medication in a secure location outside the school. Somewhere, the snow wouldn't ruin it. Somewhere, he could pick it up when the lockdown ended. By 5 a.m., he was lying in his sleeping bag in the 8th grade shelter area, staring at the ceiling, wondering when the hell he'd turned into someone who robbed drug dealers to save his family. Maybe he'd always been that person. Maybe that's what survival looked like in East L.A. Maybe there was no difference between the good criminals and the bad ones. Just criminals who won and criminals who lost. Los didn't plan on losing. Pablo Escobar showed up at the school at 8 a.m., just as the snowplows were clearing the parking lot. He didn't come inside, didn't need to. He sent a text to Los's phone. Parking lot, 5 minutes. Bring my money or bring your brother. Los walked out into the cold morning air. The snow had stopped falling, but everything was still white, clean, pure, like the world had been reset overnight. Pablo was waiting by a black SUV. Big guy, tattoos up his neck, eyes that had seen people die and didn't care. "You got my money?" Pablo asked. Los handed him an envelope, $900 cash. Pablo counted it slowly, deliberately, making Los sweat. When he finished, he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. "You're 100 over," he said. "Interest," Los replied, "for the inconvenience." Pablo laughed. "Smart kid, real smart. Your brother know how close he came to dying yesterday?" "He knows," Los lied. "Good. Make sure he understands what happens next time, because there won't be a warning, there won't be a phone call. There'll just be a body. We clear?" "Crystal." Pablo got in his SUV and drove away. Los stood in the parking lot, watching the taillights disappear, and felt the weight lift off his shoulders. It was done. Jay was safe. The debt was paid. The operation was intact. Then he heard the voice behind him. That was the Escobar family. Los turned. Money was standing there, arms crossed, face hard. "Yeah," Los said. So the scrubs are talking, Los. They're saying you went soft. They're saying you robbed the Mangananso stash, risked all our lives, started a potential war between families, all to save Jay. They're saying you chose family over business. They got a problem with that. Los's voice dropped to that dangerous whisper, the one that preceded violence. Money held up his hands. "I'm just telling you what they're saying, man. I'm not saying I agree with it, but Sophia, Davy, some of the others, they're questioning if you're still the right person to run this operation. They're saying Ghost went soft. They're saying, I don't care what they're saying," Los cut him off. "Here's what matters. We paid our debt. Nobody died. Nobody got caught. The operation is stronger now than it was yesterday, and if anybody wants to challenge me for leadership, they know where to find me." Money nodded slowly. "I'll pass that along." "You do that." Money walked away, leaving Los alone in the snow. Jay found his brother an hour later, sitting in the empty classroom where this whole thing started. "I heard you paid them," Jay said quietly. "I heard you came up with the money." Los didn't look at him, just stared out the window at the snow melting on the basketball courts. "Yeah," he said. "How? Does it matter?" Jay sat down next to his brother. "Thank you for not giving me to them. I know it was the smart play. I know it was what Ghost would have done." "Ghost isn't real," Los said. "He's just a story people tell, a reputation. But reputation doesn't keep you warm at night, Jay. Reputation doesn't bring you back when you're dead. Family is real. Mom is real. You're real. And I'm not losing any of you for a street name." They sat there in silence for a while. Then Los reached into his yellow hoodie and pulled out a bottle of pills. Lisinopril. He handed them to Jay. "Give these to Mom," he said. "Tell her they're from the clinic. Tell her the social worker found a program that covers her medication. Don't tell her the truth. Don't tell her anything about what happened. Just make sure she takes them." Jay stared at the bottle, then at his brother, then back at the bottle. "Where did you get these?" "Doesn't matter where I got them. What matters is Mom gets better. What matters is you never ever steal from a drop again. What matters is you trust me when things get hard. Can you do that?" "I can do that," Jay said. His voice cracked. "I'm sorry, Los. I'm so sorry. I should have—" "It's done," Los said. "It's over. We move forward. That's all we can do." Jay nodded. He stood up to leave, then stopped. The scrubs. They're saying you went soft. That you chose me over the operation. I heard. What are you gonna do? Loss finally looked at his brother. His eyes were cold again, empty again. Ghost was back. I'm gonna remind them why they followed me in the first place, he said. Not because I was the coldest, not because I was the smartest, but because I win every time, no matter the odds. That's what leaders do, Jay. They win. And if they don't believe you? Los smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Then they can try to take what's mine, and we'll see how that works out for them. The school reopened the next day. The snow melted. Life went back to normal, or as normal as it gets in East L.A. Nurse Patterson reported the theft to the Mangananso family. They questioned her. Rough, real rough. But she didn't know anything, so eventually they let her go. The family wrote it off as a cost of doing business. Sloppy inventory management. They put someone more reliable in charge of the stash. Loss's mother started her medication. Within a week, the coughing stopped. Within 2 weeks, she was back to her old self. She never asked where the pills came from. Sometimes mothers don't want to know. Sometimes ignorance is the only peace they get. The scrubs tested Loss. Sophia tried to run her own operation on the side. Loss shut it down in 48 hours, made an example. Not violent, just efficient. She fell back in line. Davy questioned a direct order. Loss handled it personally, put him on his back in front of everybody, established the hierarchy again. Davy never questioned him again. One by one, the doubts faded. The questions stopped. Ghost was back, stronger than before, because now everybody knew. Los Martinez would burn the whole world down for his family, and if you were loyal to him, you were family. That made him more dangerous than anyone realized. Jay stayed clean, followed orders, did his job. The orange jacket stayed bloody, but his hand stayed off the product. He'd learned his lesson. Almost dying has a way of teaching you things books can't. And Los kept moving forward, kept calculating, kept playing chess while everyone else played checkers. He was 13 years old, running a criminal enterprise, caring for a sick mother, protecting a wild little brother, and maintaining power through pure force of will. He was a child. He was a king. He was a ghost. He was all of these things at once, and none of them completely. I told you this story because somebody needed to know the truth. The newspapers called it the Roosevelt Snow Day incident. The police called it unsolved theft, ongoing investigation. The school called it unfortunate inventory discrepancy. But I was there. I saw it all. I saw a 13-year-old boy choose between power and family, and somehow find a way to keep both. I saw an 11-year-old learn that love sometimes looks like theft, and loyalty sometimes costs everything. I saw a middle school in East LA become a battleground where the stakes were life and death, and the players were children who'd never really had a chance to be children at all. You want to know the saddest part? This story isn't unique. This story is happening right now in 100 schools across 100 neighborhoods, just like this one. Kids raising kids. Kids protecting kids. Kids dying for kids. The snow melted, but the game continues. Because it always continues. There's always another debt. Always another crisis. Always another impossible choice between survival and morality. Los Martinez is 14 now. Still running Roosevelt. Still protecting his family. Still moving pieces around the board like a grandmaster. Jay Martinez is 12. Still wild. Still loyal. Still one bad day away from catching a body that'll put him away for life. Their mother is healthy. For now. The Escobar family got their money. For now. The Mangananso family never found out who really hit their stash. For now. But for now doesn't last forever. Nothing does. Not in this life, not in this game. Eventually, the bill comes due. Eventually the luck runs out. Eventually, even ghosts get caught. I just hope I'm not there to see it when it happens to them. Because those boys, they deserved better than this life. They deserved snow days that were just about building snowmen and throwing snowballs. They deserved to worry about homework and crushes and video games. Instead, they got this. They got blood and product and impossible choices. They got survival. They got family. They got each other. Maybe in another world, in another life, that would have been enough. But in East LA, during a rare snowy winter, when two brothers had to choose between loyalty and survival, nothing is ever enough. The game continues. The snow melts. The bodies pile up. And somewhere out there, Los Martinez is planning his next move. Jay Martinez is loading his next clip, and their mother is taking her medication, never knowing what it really cost to keep her alive. That's the truth. That's the story. That's what it means to be Ghost in a world that only understands violence.